So now I get to roast. Okay.
Magnum PI.
Magnum PI is another good one. It's been a
Would
while. I don't have
Magnum.
it. I just warn you now. I don't have an analogy prepared. So
I never watched Magnum PI.
Well, I'm Magnum. Let's say
you guys hear
you're
me?
the
PI.
British guy who's good at kung fu, but in a very like he's it's quite funny. And Bo's the
You-
black guy who pilots the helicopter.
I don't. You know what? I don't even remember that guy. Was that really a guy in that show?
He was one of his buddies. It was mostly about Magnum, that show. The British
Sound-
butler guy was in it a lot too, though.
Sounds like the Golden Girls analogy worked better.
It did.
All right. Good, bad, or bullshit. Episode 160 records live in 5, 4. Hello and welcome to the Good, Bad, or Bullshit podcast. Three guys, unlimited opinion, where conversation is the foundation of higher thought. My name is Bo Schwartz. Joining me today, as always, is Mr. Got a lot of energy on Sunday, Michael Hodgins. Mike, hello.
Got a lot of energy. Yes, I have a fair amount of energy, I suppose.
Yeah,
I
well,
summoned it for the show.
Sweet.
Hello.
And Mr. No Energy on a Sunday, Crofton Steers. Crofton, if it's too hard to say hello, just nod and I'll narrate what you're doing to the audience.
Thanks, Bo.
Well, you're tired. You don't have emphysema, though, right? Or do you have that too?
I was actually not going to disclose that I was tired because I thought, you know what? Maybe people will just be able to tell because they've built up a bond with me over so many episodes. They'll just feel it. And I won't have to go into detail about it. But now you put me on the spot, you dirty bastard.
It's what I do. It's professionalism in podcasting. We got to stay current. We talk about our lives. We keep it informal. And we reveal a part of our souls. This show in particular, at least for me, is a place where, we talk about topics, but we talk about them in relation to us. So I feel a very deep connection with you guys, with the topics, with the audience. And so I guess, sorry for calling you out. You should have told me pre-show that you would like to keep up a facade for the audience, that you were like...
Well,
I
it
don't
should
know.
be taken for granted that I always want to keep up a facade.
The worst
Right.
thing... Oh, go ahead, sorry.
Right now they think, obviously I'm super intelligent, always right, the best looking, all that stuff. And only part of that is
The most
facade.
humble. The most humble.
The most humble. Yeah. So, I mean, some of it's a facade,
Right.
like Donald Trump. The rest of it is like, authentic. Like, I'm trying to think of an authentic politician, and I'm too tired to really invent one.
Do you
I was
think?
gonna,
Do you think Justin Trudeau's an authentic politician?
no.
Really?
You ever heard him give a speech? It's pretty stilted.
I have to say though, I think the rest of the world, if headlines in the news media are to be believed, and I think we're pretty skeptical on this show, Canada's looking like a great place for everyone to want to live.
Well, they have the U.S. has Donald Trump on the horizon. Like,
Yeah.
probably a lot of places look like, and Canada is pretty much the same as the United States, like minus guns and, plus healthcare. So yeah,
and
sure, it
there's
looks
the-
like a good place.
There's the British exit. The British want to come over here too. And but yeah, knowing Trump might win for Americans is probably like knowing you're going to get a venereal disease in the next 2 months. Like you don't know when or how, but it's coming. Like you just want to maybe chop off your genitals and just not get it.
Mark my words right now. Trump will not win, and the Brits will not exit the European Union.
Oh, word marking. Nice. That's
Well, I feel like the Donald Trump that's a pretty easy. That's a pretty safe prediction. I would tend to agree with you. The Brexit one, I'm more curious about. I'm like, I don't know. I actually don't know how I'd call that one, but
Well, I made a call.
you've called it. You've decided. Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
do you know what else makes calls? The random topic generator. It makes the call on the random topic of the show. Are you guys ready to?
Well, that was lame. That was lame.
That was lame. What did Andrea think? What did Andrea think of that?
Lame.
Andrea thinks
Speaking
it's
of
lame,
random
too.
things, just before we get into it, it's like festival season here in Ottawa.
Yeah.
And the other day, I was actually at the Busker Fest just today, and incidentally, I was trying to decide if buskers annoyed me or not. I couldn't decide. I'm like, they're providing entertainment, you give them money, but half the time you're like, I wish I hadn't watched this.
Okay, let's do a mini good GBB right now. Because buskers do a whole lot of build up and anticipation for like 30 minutes to do one stupid little thing.
Oh my
and
god!
they want
build it up
everyone
so
to toss like all their money in the middle in their hat. They are annoying. I don't
They're
need to
kind of
think about
annoying.
it.
I think
I
I'd
like
give them
street
bullshit.
performers, but busking, the B word on the street performer side of things, yes, it legitimizes an entertainment activity in this impromptu kind of awesome way, but get on with it already. It's not. It shouldn't take the length of an episode of Game of Thrones just to see you swallow fire.
Yeah,
Like-
the guy I saw today was riding a unicycle, and then he juggled knives.
They're always riding unicycles.
Yeah, and that sounds cool. Yeah, he's riding a unicycle, he's juggling knives. Cool. It took him so long, and he juggled the knives on the unicycle for like 15 seconds. Now, I can't juggle knives, so I was impressed. But it was like 15 seconds. He built it up for so long. I kept saying, when's he going to juggle the goddamn knives? And I was just like, and he's like going on about money. And anyways, I was like, whatever.
Busking is bullshit because like they could be begging. Like a beggar, that's worse than busking. They're at least like when a beggar's like, hey, just give me money for sitting here. Just give me money. I need money. Just give it to me. Well, a busker is like, I have something to show you. I will entertain you and then give me money. So it's like a little more elaborate begging, but because of all the bullshittery around it, like you described, I would also say bullshit.
Yeah. And also, they, like other performers, they're just not booking venues. You know, they're not paying establishments. They're just like, I'll just go on the street because I'm too cheap to book a place or don't have the money.
Or join the busker festival that only lame hipsters go to.
In any case, it's all I wanted to say was about randomness. Like, so there's so much going on right now. There's also a rib fest going on I went to the other day. And at the rib fest, right across the street, there's this park that's like Pokemon Central in Ottawa.
Oh, cool.
So I got ribs at the rib fest and we crossed the street and there was like not 500 people playing Pokemon Go. Clearly, you know, there's just massive amounts of people in this park. And I'm like, huh. And then on the other side of the park, there was like, I don't know, 4 or 5 different bagpipe bands practicing. And so I was like, this scene is totally random to me. I'm like, because looking around, you see this big like lineup of ribs, place for people getting their ribs, tons of Pokemon players, and then just bagpipes blaring. And I was like, yeah, it's random times in Ottawa, but it was fun.
You can do all three. You can play Pokemon Go while eating your ribs and listening to bagpipes.
Yeah, the bagpipes. That's a terrible instrument.
Speaking of terrible instruments.
Yeah, with the sound almost as pleasing as bagpipes, the random topic generator. There's a good intro.
Was that one meets your approval? All right, well, you go ahead and get it started. You're the topic generator, man.
Yeah. The topic today is nudism.
Nudism. Sweet. It's a Blanche topic. Listeners not going to know what I'm talking about. I just
Blanche.
realized.
It's a Golden Girls reference.
Yes.
Listeners.
Apparently, I'm the Blanche/Betty, but
Yeah.
we'll tell you about that another time.
Yeah. Well, whatever. It's pretty obvious, I think.
I'm the Dorothy. Just before moving on, I must say I'm relieved about this topic because I'm very tired, as Bo mentioned to all you listeners who would have figured it out due to your deep being in tune with me emotionally. But I heard this topic and I'm like, man, this is an easy one.
Nudism.
really?
Yeah, it's not like structural inequality or something.
Oh,
like that.
God.
You know, you're like, oh.
Oh.
Yeah. So nudism, like I guess we're talking about. Is it just as simple as just being naked, or like nudist retreats and beaches where people are nude? That like I don't really nudism.
Well, isn't as soon as you throw an ism onto something, isn't that like more of a movement type of it's not just like being naked. It's like nudism is I lean towards the whole retreats example that you gave and the nude beaches and all that sort of stuff, like a nudism movement as opposed to just being naked.
Let's call it social nudity. Like you're nude at home. You're maybe nude with your partner, right? Like there's a few people. Maybe depending on the state of your relationship. You might have a relationship where that they don't want to see you naked and that they're so repressed. I'm just saying there are very few people in our modern lives that you appear naked in front of on any sort of regular or casual basis, let's say. But social nudity, like Crofton and I went out to Bridgehead, a local coffee shop yesterday. Social nudity would be if we both showed up without wearing any clothes. Because clothes are so prevalent in our culture, I'm trying, many cultures throughout the world, it's making a statement to actually go places or do things, allowed or not allowed, naked in our minds. Like you can't just go to a nudist beach and it not mean something.
Well, I don't know about that, because I mean I think that there are specific, like there are nudist retreats. There are people who, I agree with you in that it's like it's a movement. A certain type of people are like, I like being naked. I'm going to go to the nudist beach, and there's nudist retreats. Things are all naked. But that's different than being like, I think that's a different movement than, say, someone being like, I'm going to go to the local coffee shop naked in breach of the law. Because it is, again, what would the law, public decency laws or whatever they call them? But basically, if you were walking around the street naked, you would be arrested. Because I remember in Ottawa, I think it's an Ottawa bylaw, but or it might be Ontario, but there was I think it was in the 90s it came in.
Yeah, you're talking
90s.
about it was the late 90s, because I remember reading it on the Ottawa Sun, ran like 3 covers on it for like the entire week. It was that women could go topless. They could already in Quebec, which is right across the river. And, men during the summer, you'd be running around, they'd not be wearing a shirt or whatever. But women would have to, like, they could not be topless. And in the late 90s, we passed it so that they can be. And it's funny because I was biking back from work the other day, and I passed somebody biking the other way at one point. Like there's tons of bikers, most of them were in spandex and stuff. And then there's this one that just biked by and had no top, and from a long ways away I thought, I just assumed it was a guy wearing no top, but of course it was a woman. It wasn't like she was super attractive or anything, but all of a sudden I was like, holy shit, that woman's not wearing a top, and I almost crashed into a Canada Goose. True story.
Those things are everywhere.
Canada geese, not the naked women.
Topless.
Actually, there was a couple of women who, like at the end of the 90s, like they were all like, "Oh, we're free, we're gonna win," and for a day, like there were like reporters perving them because they essentially wanted to run articles about how like, "Hey, look, women are now not wearing tops," but then the novelty ran out and everybody went back to wearing tops.
Yeah, like when I think about that moment in time, I do remember seeing a few women going around topless, but it does not seem to be very prevalent. Like, so though but I mean, again, you still have to wear pants. Are we really like how this is a topic? You have to wear pants in society, and we're like, no, that's bullshit. Nudism is good. So I think that's why you have these nudist beaches or these specific areas, and I don't know if they like make agreements with local municipalities or whatever, or if they're like if it's a nudist retreat. My assumption is that it's private property, and you can do, you can be naked on your private property.
Well,
So you
see, I'm
adult
not
can't.
sure about that. See, I was actually having this conversation today, because like, so my mom lives on a river in Wakefield, and there's a bunch of people that do this stand-up paddle thing now, and there's like just these giant groups of stand-up paddlers that come down. Also, lots of boaters, kayakers, and canoers. On a summer Sunday, it's like the Motor City Speedway out there on the water. Like, it's crazy. It's not that wide a river either. Anyway, we've cut down kind of all the trees so like you can see very well onto our property, and we're kind of like on a little it's like a little peninsula almost, how it sticks out at that point in the water. So it's almost as if we're on display. Everybody who goes by is like, oh, hey, how's it going? And all this, very social and all that. But I was thinking to myself, I'm like, what if we were all just walking around naked? Like, and I was like, my bits and twigs and berries were like swinging around and all this. Like, it would be right in people's faces. They would be right going by. And I was like, am I allowed to do this? Because I was thinking about it, like if I was sitting on my lawn in the city and where all our houses are close together, and I was just sitting on my lawn and I was in full nudity, I'm like on my private property. I'm sure that that would not be allowed. Like it's just like I'm right in the city. There are tons of kids coming by, walking by. I'm just sitting there in the city. I guarantee there's some sort of law about that.
Yeah,
I'm not.
I think that you're right about that because someone else was telling me a story and I cannot remember the details, but it was something to the extent of some neighbor was walking by a house and then noticed looking through the window. Oh, it was even worse. It was more like a sexual
Sure.
act, but took a picture of the neighbor through their own
Oh.
window through the and then kind of turned him into the police, saying this was like public indecency, even though they were in their own house. And this person went up and took a picture through their window to get them and shit. So yeah, I don't think you can stand in like your open bay
Wait,
window.
so they
buck
got in shit
naked.
for it?
What?
They got charged with something?
Yeah, I think like the police came because it was like they were.
Well, they
the other
came,
people
but did
they
they
were
charge
exposing
them?
the neighborhood to this stuff, and this was evidence of it. Was this picture, and I'm like, that does seem insane. And from again the story, this is like secondhand or whatever, or third hand because I think it was a media thing. The drapes were almost closed, just open enough so that this person could look through them, and you're like, "What is? Isn't that person breaking a crime?" But regardless, the
Yeah, I
point
guess.
being,
But then again, I have a big window that looks out onto the street. Like we could have sex, my wife and I, in such a way that it would be like extremely visible to the people on the street.
Bo's
And
laughing a lot. He's like, "I've spent a lot of
No.
nights in those bushes. I know, man."
No, that's not why I'm laughing. I'm laughing
I'm-
because Jessie might be in the room and she can't hear what we're saying.
she is.
So
She's
all of a
laughing
sudden,
right now. I
she's
hear her
all of a
laughing.
sudden Crofton is talking about them having sex in front of windows on the show.
she's laughing right now. She's like, "What are they talking
The
about?"
police
But-
would come in.
But yeah, no. See, I would be in my own place of residence, but like I would be putting on a display because of where the window is situated. And I think that's why you see in these nudist colonies and all this, there's like signs often quite far out. Like you'll see a fence being like, warning you are now entering a nudist zone or whatever. And everything is kind of like separated. And so it's private property, but it's also, I think, like well documented in that, so people know, okay, I'm gonna see some shit if I go in this area.
So I
But
mean,
we're
right off.
talking about sex, like, and that's
No, I'm
maybe
talking about
different
nudism.
than nudism.
No, but even being naked in the window, it's the same kind of context. I guess the point we're just outlining here is there are a lot of laws around being naked in public, and you so as you say, Bo, it's very true that it's social nudism is being naked socially, and though some of it's not illegal, some of it is. There's this weird. It's like society has a problem with nakedness. Is kind of what it comes down to. A lot of it's enshrined in law. And what's your take on that? Is that
It's religious. Well, a lot of our nations have a history of religious repression, like from the through line from the Dark Ages to the Victorian era to early Americana with the Pilgrim people. Like, I don't know. I'm pulling from a whole lot of different places to point out.
Yes, I think most of those people
that-
wore clothes generally.
Well, they wore clothes, but also, like, there is a repression of sexuality, of nakedness, and they're all intertwined. I'm gonna butcher it. I know I've been told it's educated on it somewhere, and then uneducated myself by playing lots of video games or something like that. But the point being that, like, we have, like, why would we wear clothes? Like, what is the point apart from being warm? What is the point? Maybe if you have a nasty body, not to subject other people to it because it is making you uncomfortable to look at. Maybe. But I think we get those body image notions from the indoctrination we've had ever since we were kids about what we need to see. Like, the fact is, you were born into a world where wearing clothes is all you did. This is all you and I and Crofton and everyone listening out there knows. You don't know, like, the reason why that someone gets naked is like Crofton said, oh, they'd have to look. It's because it's unusual, because it's weird, it's fascinating, and it's provocative. But I could easily imagine if nobody wore clothes and be like, well, it's another schlong or it's another hoo-ha. Like, I've seen them all, like, whatever. Like, we could easily get there. Like, we made it a thing. The natural world didn't make it a thing. Yeah. We made it a thing, and we were raised into it, and it's what we know.
I mean, it's kind of true because little kids do not care that their that they're naked. And obviously, little kids really don't care that they're naked. But even up to like 5, I don't know what age kids develop what you call shame. Where it's like the parents are like, put some pants on, and just like a 6-year-old kid walking around buck naked. They do not care. So I mean, I agree that it's learned behavior, and socially taught to us. I was actually, you just reminded me, my wife and I were talking about this a couple weeks ago, how kids don't mind being naked, but we all do. I'm sort of thankful, like my take on this, like I don't want to be naked really all the time. I don't mind being naked in my home and, around my wife and whatever, but like generally I feel more comfortable with clothes on. And when I think specifically about, say, I have had the experience of being an adolescent male, and that experience involves a lot of erections, as I'm sure you guys know.
There can't be a reason to not wear clothes as erections.
Yes, it can.
No.
As I've disclosed on this show before, in tribute to my father talked me into wearing jeans because I was wearing jogging pants going out of elementary school,
Naked pants
mostly
all over the place.
to hide my boners.
Oh,
so
geez.
I mean, like it is.
Well, think of, so now imagine you're an adolescent male, like, and your testosterone's, your hormones are going crazy, and then you go to like school, and like if this was just mass, nudism was just like societal, and all these like girls who are developing are naked, it'd be like insane.
Yeah,
like,
your teacher would be like, you have a boner, and you'd be like, what's that? As a kid, you'd be like, just go to the bathroom, rub one out, and get back to class.
Oh god,
Like,
oh, that's very
well,
insane.
no, but like,
and I'm very
why
glad
does masturbation is a topic that people don't want to talk about, that is repressed, and there's a long history of it not being included in things we teach our kids. But that's the exact point. Is like, we have boners, we should wear clothes. It's like, we could just know what it is and live. Like, we don't need clothes. What kind of solution is that?
Just jumping in here, like the reason that you would be, you're sexually attracted often to unclothed people is because you're used to seeing them clothed. So we've added a certain cachet to that as well.
Agreed.
However, like when I think of clothes, like, yes, I see these photos in National Geographic of the African villages of everybody, a lot of people being naked and all this sort of stuff, not having shoes perhaps and all this. But like my kid is less than 2. She already wants to wear shoes. She doesn't want to walk outside and not wear shoes. She wants to wear shoes because it hurts her feet not to wear shoes. Makes sense. I like wearing shoes too. When Bo used his Bridgehead analogy and said, like, if I walked over to Bridgehead to which is a coffee shop, incidentally, Americans, or to talk to Bo, it's like 4 or 5 blocks away. It's not so far away, but if I was naked walking there, first off, let's say I wore shoes. Let's cop out the shoe thing and say I was wearing shoes. So all I have to worry about in that point is the sun, which is something that definitely is concerning. Like today, I didn't wear a shirt most of the day outside, and I'm paying for it now. And yes, you can wear sunscreen and all this, but like you're compensating for the fact there's an obvious solution, which is wearing clothes. And the other thing is just walking. I'm not like a huge guy, but just walking like 4 or 5 blocks, like with my twig and berries swinging around and all that sort of stuff, I guarantee you it would be uncomfortable. Like I would start getting chafing. I would start whatever. Like it would just make more sense for me to be wearing boxers and shorts. Like it's more practical. So you add in these layers of practicality for each piece of clothing, and then everybody's wearing clothing all the time, and then that snowballs into people being like, oh, when I'm not wearing clothing, I'm indecent. And then, it's all lumped together. But I mean, it's not just a social thing that we wear clothes. We wear clothes for practical reasons.
Yeah. But I would say that, and I agree with you. Like, I think shoes are great. They can have fashion implications, but like for the most part, they're necessary. Like they're way better than not wearing shoes. Like shoes are a clear upgrade on the comfort of your feet in harsh environments and for safety. But the rest of it, And sunglasses to keep the sun out of your eyes. But you could wear sunscreen. You don't need
But
clothes.
like in the winter in Canada, you got to wear clothes. Like you would fucking
Yes.
freeze. And then in the
Yes.
summer in Canada, if you don't wear clothes, honestly, if you walked around at the same amount of time that you're outside normally with nothing, your increased risk of skin cancer would be through the roof. Like in Australia, they have crazy high skin cancer, and a lot of that has to do with topless men and such. So, or women. So I just think clothes are practical. They serve a purpose. And so then you get these people who are nudists and who just want the freedom to be naked. And where do they choose to do that? They choose to do it at the beach. Why not? Because the beach is the one place that makes the most sense to be naked. Like if anything, in North America, we kind of make fun a little bit of the speedos that they wear in Europe. Like we'll all be wearing, as men, more like longer shorts and stuff like board shorts or that sort of thing. I know I'm much more comfortable wearing those than like if I put on a speedo. But practically, speedos make much more sense for kind of what you're doing. You're wearing these big heavy shorts, really makes no sense, but it's like a social thing that we do now. And then we sort of look at the speedos as being like, that's really like, that makes me uncomfortable. Why does it make you uncomfortable? It makes you uncomfortable because it's not flattering generally visually to you if you don't have a great body or whatever. It's so these are all slippery slopes towards nudism, where you go to a beach or what have you, and like honestly, most people would admit swimming feels pretty nice naked. Like you swim naked, you're like, oh, this is nice.
It does.
But
sure.
if you're walking around, you sit down, you dry off a little bit. Like at beach, it makes sense to be naked. There are places it makes sense.
Well, no, but have you ever seen the naked cyclists? Like all the time, like the biking clubs that go around cycling naked.
I don't think that makes sense.
Well,
Yeah,
because they're making a statement. But the point is that
it's a statement. I agree.
I agree with you that at the beach it makes sense to be nude. It's amenable to the nude philosophy. But, you and I could have gone to the coffee shop. I would argue it would be more comfortable to be nude.
See,
No.
I totally disagree, and like, so okay, there's a couple things here. Like, so people being naked, like the naked cyclists, that is a political statement. Oftentimes you'll see women go topless for a particular type of activism. That's different than nudism, like what we're talking about. And I would agree. So and it tends to go into two places: the nude beach and the nudist colony, which you hear of often. The nude beach makes sense. Like as Croft was saying, most people you're 90% naked anyways. It's kind of like, I feel like the concept of nudity at a beach. I'm like, you know what? We're already almost there. No big deal. To go the whole way, a nude beach doesn't really bug me. But the nudist colony is one where my understanding is that you're nude all the time. You go to social activities nude. You do think you're just nude. You go to dinner nude, and you said you think you'd be more comfortable. I could not imagine being more uncomfortable. And it's not about like shame and my body. It's about like for example, if it's really hot in my house, and my house does not have air conditioning. Sometimes if I've been out, I'll take my shirt off when I get home because I'm just like hot. It's hot inside. And then I'll go and sit down on the couch. And I've had two different couches here. One of them was like a leather couch. It feels disgusting to put your sweaty back on a leather couch, and then you get up after and it's like that rippy noise of like sweaty back coming off a couch. That's disgusting.
Sweat is all over the couch.
Whereas if I had a cotton shirt on, it would be no big deal because it would be a light amount of sweat. Now I have a different couch, and it's made of some kind of, I don't know, woolen material. And I've sat down on that with the shirt on before, and it's just like kind of picky compared to whatever shirt I choose to wear. Same with like a bench. Like you go out and, you're walking around, so you're going for a naked hike. You sit down on a rock, and now there's like sand and crud that's stuck to your skin. It's kind of gross. Or sit down on a wooden bench. You might get a sliver in your ass or something. Like there's all kinds of practicalities. Or like a cold metal bench. You sit down naked. Like there's so many practicalities of being naked that is just uncomfortable. So for you to say you'd feel more comfortable, I don't think you're thinking about the practicalities of moving around our society being naked. It would mostly be uncomfortable.
I don't know. I
For the
feel like
record,
those opinions are heavily biased because you've been living with it for a long time.
For the
because I
record,
can imagine what it's like to be naked.
those Bridgehead chairs were like small metal chairs, they're totally metal. Like it would have been really
We
uncomfortable.
might have pinched our
I know
nuts
those
in
ones.
some of it. But I feel like if nudism was more of a thing, then we'd build our couches and our coffee shop chairs and our lives to fit the fact that we don't wear clothes.
Look, I read this article on CBC not too long ago. CBC plug, take a shot for the GBB drinking gamers. And it was about this nudist colony in BC, and it made me sad in a way because it was essentially bemoaning the fact that they were lacking in new attendees or members. So they were getting older, and that was like generally a bunch of older people. And I think that the nudism naturalism movement is in a way, I don't want to say like associated with like the 60s and hippies and all that sort of stuff, but I do think it's more prevalent there, and it makes me sad to think like Bo's is saying like it would be great, not necessarily, but it'd be it's annoying how that we're socially repressed and this, and it does kind of make me sad in a way, like these old hippies are kind of being interviewed by CBC, and they're like, yeah, we're just there's nothing like sexual here, we just we do chores and we sit down on these Adirondack chairs and look at the mountains and whatever. Like they seem to be just like living in a quiet sort of community, and yeah, they're not getting new people, and that it kind of makes me sad, and it does make me. I am impressed with their level of confidence, because I will admit, like I'm not like somebody who is super self-conscious about my body, but like make me be a nudist for a day. Of course, like if you're the only one doing anything, then of course it's going to be like all eyes are on you. But even if you threw me in a situation where everybody is naked, I would be uncomfortable. And I know that there's been this, there was this office in San Francisco, I think, that did this test recently where they made it a nude office for a month or 2 months, and then by the time it was over, nobody wanted to go back to a closed office. They were super uncomfortable at the beginning, and then over time it was just like they were totally fine with it, and they had the infrastructure in such a way that it was comfortable to be naked in that space. But yeah, so I can see the benefits. I admire the people that do it, but I have no desire personally to partake in nudism.
And I think that's important to acknowledge here, because like I'm leaning on why are you so repressed with the clothes or whatever. I know I would be too shamed to do it now, and a lot of that probably has to do with how I was raised, and it's like how we get raised or how we feel is what we impose on the younger generations, and I think that's how these things get carried on. Like I don't think we can make too light of how difficult it is to make these big generational changes in philosophy and attitudes, and so because when I'm always like, man, nudism is great, but then I'm like, I feel like a hypocrite because I'm like, I don't want to be nude either. I'm too entrenched in clothing, but I see some of the stupidity of it, I think, and even I just feel like it shapes our world a lot, and I question it. I think that's where I'm coming from.
I just don't understand, like, and this is like for all you nudists out there listening to the show, one thing I don't understand is how that it becomes such an integral part of like your identity and desire, that like you're joining these nudist colonies and all this. Like I could understand liking being naked at home and stuff, and whatever, maybe having naked parties with my nudist friends and stuff every once in a while, but like it feels like it's such a self-identifying aspect of that people associate like nudism with like kind of a lifestyle. Oh, I'm a nudist or whatever. Maybe I'm blowing it out of proportions, but it does seem like something that like if I made my entire life around podcasting and I was talking about podcasting all the time and podcast this and podcast that, like I can almost understand that. I don't do that, even though I'm an amazing podcaster and everyone loves me. I don't do that because, I have other interests. I don't just like self-identify as a podcaster. I have lots of aspects of my personality. But nudism just seems like one of those things where people blow into like this big thing, like, oh, I'm a nudist or whatever. I don't know. Maybe I'm misreading, misunderstanding. But I don't get that. I don't get what's such a big deal about it. Like, why are they making it such a big deal? I don't know. Or why are we making it such a big deal? Or
I mean, I always have this idea that if you're a nudist, it's like you feel bound, these shackles of clothing. I want to be free of these restrictions society imposes on me. And to those people, I'd say like clothes aren't your problem. Like there are other kinds of shackles that you should be spending your time fighting against if that's the reason that you feel society's imposed this on you. I'd be like, there's so many bigger issues that would make you feel freer than, not being able to walk around buck naked all the time. And I just also think, and I'd be curious to know, and this is going way back, because clothing is old. Human beings have been wearing clothing for a fucking long time, like predating what you would call civilization. Like people wore clothing before there were towns, right? It's one of our earliest forms of technology. So that's pretty interesting. And you just wonder, like, how ingrained is it in us to want to wear clothing? Because you'll find clothing, from the Paleolithic era, people like wore furs or whatever. And I mean, I think it probably started as a technology to allow you to go into climates which otherwise might be, you couldn't live in them, right? It's not hot anymore and we don't have any fur. So, you wear an animal skin and you go there. But at this point, like, it's tens of thousands of years, like, we've evolved to want to wear clothes, I think, at this point. I want to wear clothes. I like wearing clothes. It feels good to wear clothes. I like being naked sometimes. And then I also feel like the novelty of being naked is exciting because you wear clothes all the time. And I feel like when I'm naked at home, or it's like it does feel freeing, but I feel like if I was naked all the time, sitting on the bus, going to work, doing all this shit naked, then you'd be home and you'd be like, well, I'm still naked. What would you do at home? Put on clothes because it's a weird novelty? Like, oh, I just want to feel, whereas it's nice to come home from your day and be like, you know what? I'm taking off my clothes. I'm at home. I'm in my private place. So I feel like nudism is, if anything, I can kind of understand what they're trying to get at with the releasing the kind of how it's kind of constraining you in some way, but I also feel like it's getting rid of the novelty of being naked, which is sort of nice, I think. I like being naked, just not all the time. So anyways, okay, I'm getting towards verdicts.
Yeah, I think it's time to cast verdicts here too. I think we've all had a lot of good things to say, and I think we're good. Unless anyone else has something they want to say before we go. All right, then sheep it is. Bring on the sheep.
These animals aren't naked. They got built-in fur.
Order, I said. Order in the court.
It's not clothes, right? Like, my fur, like, on me is not considered clothes.
And just imagine a judge was naked, how little respect you'd have for them, sending out a verdict, standing there with their jiggling bellies.
What other naked people would you not have respect for?
That's where they wear all those wigs and robes, they want to super cover themselves up.
Police officers would be super hard to take seriously. You're under arrest. Like,
yeah,
what?
all completely naked, just with like a belt with a gun on it.
Compensating for something, officer? No, seriously, that was a comment. I can see that you are. I can see it.
I can tell physically.
All right. Who wants to take first stab at it?
I will. I'll go. I will lead the charge into the colony of nudists, and then say, "Oh, I'm sorry, wrong beach. It was the actual other beach. I didn't see the sign. I'm sorry. I'm going to keep my clothes on. I'm sorry." With regards to nudism in general, like, I find it really hard to think of something that is particularly negative about it. It's not like it's some sort of insidious movement that's trying to convert all us clothes-wearing denizens into nudists and run around naked. Like, I mean, I think that it's great that people that do it are comfortable with their bodies and themselves. I wouldn't want everybody to be naked all over the place. I don't want to be naked all over the place. I recognize the benefit of clothes, but I don't begrudge nudism or naturalism, and for that reason, I'm going to say that it is good.
All right, I can take the next crack at it, and we'll let Mike go last. Crofton's taking off his clothes incidentally right now. What the hell are you doing? I look over at his camera and his shirt's open.
You missed me taking it off. That was the best part.
I did.
You'll have to rewind the video and watch it over and over later, Bo.
Well, I had to let our audio listeners know you were doing that because you didn't tell them. All right.
Added oomph for the video crowd.
And I was looking elsewhere. I was listening to you, but I was looking elsewhere, and I just saw your clothes were off. It was very surprising. Maybe that's a case for not nudism. So I'm giving my verdict. Hi. Oh, and he's taking off his shirt even more. Basically, I question the fact that we need clothes. I like clothes for the utility. Mike's taking off his shirt as well. I'm not. All right. This is reinforcing my. Oh my god! Everyone has their shirt on. What the? Okay.
Come on, Bo. Join the club. We're nudist.
Bo, you always lose your train of thought when you're doing your verdict.
Look, and here, like I already said, I'm part of the indoctrinated group. I don't have a desire to have my shirt off. Like clearly, you two have, and you have an active repression because all it took was this podcast to get you to release some of that repression and take your shirts off. But I do have I'm a bit overweight. I do have some shame. I don't take my clothes off with as much zeal as you do, and I feel like that comes from somewhere. That idea that it matters actually that we have to wear clothes. So I question it. I don't know that there's a lot of deep thought going on in the nudist movement, but maybe it's simplicity itself is the reason itself. I think nudism is good. And we just need to work out these repressions that we've been building up over centuries. I think there's something there that needs to be explored.
Come on, Bo. We're exploring right now. Take your shirt off.
I'm not taking my shirt off, dude.
Well, it's funny how you just spent all this time talking about this repression and you say nudism is good, but you cannot let yourself be nude.
That's right. I talked about the reasons why. I didn't
say he did.
I'm not an advocate for nudism. I just think it's good.
I'll have to listen to his reasons later. I was just enjoying the sweet feeling of wind on my naked
it's
skin.
Freeing. It's funny right now. The chair I'm leaning against has this kind of like picky quality to it. I'm like, being naked is annoying. So yeah, it's kind of. I really do think it's an innocuous thing. I mean, we talked a little bit at the start about how all the laws, and I do think that is a bit weird to some extent. There's so many laws prohibiting nakedness in public, and that's a bit weird. But that that sort of is just how it is. I don't know the reasons for it. But the nudist movement, it's kind of innocuous, right? If people want to go to a nudist colony and be naked, I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with the nude beach. I would consider going to a nude beach, maybe, though. Like everyone, I don't feel that confident about being naked in public, especially, with the temperature of the water. Everyone's seen the Seinfeld episode. It shrinks, right?
Shrinkage.
Cold water,
it's a thing.
You feel the insecurity, it's like... So, I'd feel that too, being at a beach naked. But really, I really feel like clothes serve a useful purpose and one that a lot of people like, and it leaves a little bit to the imagination. It's kind of nice. So I do think that nudism as a thing is kind of bullshit. So that's where I'm going to land. Yeah, it's definitely not bad, but is it a good thing that there are nudist colonies? I mean, I don't know. It's not bad. Again, it's just a thing that's bullshit. And I choose. Crofton always says the bullshit slant's a bit negative, but I don't necessarily feel like that. I feel like it's just a non-thing. It's like, go to your nudist colony, have fun, whatever. You're not hurting anyone. I don't got a problem with that. But also, when it's January and you're out naked on the, waiting for the bus to arrive, you're gonna want some damn clothes and be happy to have them too. So nudism's kind of bullshit in the real world.
All right. Well, we want your opinions, folks, on what you think about nudism and what you think about Mike and Crofton's sweet bodies. And that, I guess that suntan did hit you pretty hard in your chest there, Crofton. I see it now. All right. You can send us an email to tell us what you think about nudism at goodbadbull. No. goodbadbull@gmail.com. Wow, we're professionals here. Send us an email there with your voice message or with your thoughts, and we'll read them on the show and respond to them. We love getting mail. If you want to subscribe to the show, find out more about the show, go to goodbadbull.com. There you'll find links to subscribe to the show on iTunes or Google Play or Stitcher, but we recommend you leave Stitcher. Or any other RSS feeder, because that's there too. Follow us on social media, Facebook, facebook.com/goodbadbull, and youtube.com/goodbadbullshow, twitter.com @goodbadbull on the Twitters. And finally, we have a Patreon, and we have Patreons. I said that wrong. We're on Patreon, and we have patrons. I'm really bungling up this outro, you guys.
Thank you, patrons.
So I want to say thank you very much to our patrons for supporting the show. Without you, we'd still do this, but we do it that much better because you're supporting us. And
I have also a suggestion for patrons. You should suggest to Bo that if he doesn't do at least one show naked, that you withdraw your support. Come on, people, we can get him out of his clothes on the Good Better
there would
Bullshit.
be so much hair in the camera right
It's
now.
also
Like,
an audio
you guys,
show.
I
That's the
can't-
thing. The beauty of this, we could be naked every single episode and no one would know the difference. I mean, the YouTube, who's really watching the YouTube?
Well, not
A
very
lot
many
more
people.
for this episode.
Not
I'll
very
tell you
many
what.
people watch YouTube, but there are a few people who post occasionally, and they're like, "Oh, sweet video," and they're really stoked about it.
But even that, it's like, if you really want to enjoy some naked shoulders exposed this episode, watch the video.
You don't
It's
have
really,
to point
you
the
know,
camera at your face. You can point it at your Johnson and do the show that way,
Oh,
and then
that's-
go meow, 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 as if it's talking. Okay. Anyways, you can follow me at Bo Schwartz for brilliant thoughts like that I'll tweet out about. Crofton, if our listeners want to find out more about what you're up to, where can they find you?
They can find me emotionally exposing myself on Twitter at Crofton Steers.
Ooh, clever. And Michael, if our listeners want to find out more about what you're up to, where can they find you?
At ML Hodgins, you can find me burying myself, all of it. Not physically.
His soul.
Yeah.
Soul. More the soul portion.
And while we're at it, just before we move on to the outro segment, I do want to pimp a few things I was on this week.
It's a segment?
Well, segment, whatever. This portion of the show, Gamers In, I was on the most recent episode of that, so check that out, as well as the duo Q&A that Kyle Ferguson does, youtube.com/Kyle Ferguson, 2 S's. Yeah, and don't forget to check out ! that I do with Crofton. If you want more of this with shirts on about video games, you can find it there.
I have a question, Bo.
Yeah.
Did you do any of those guest stints naked?
No.
Well, see, at least he's consistent. if he had guest stinted naked,
Okay,
but then
look.
worn clothes
You
for
guys-
us, I would have felt slighted.
Yeah, screw you guys. You guys are getting it.
Oh, he's doing
Oh.
it.
There you go.
There, Bo.
Now I'm
Doesn't
naked
it
too.
look good?
Oh, my eyes.
Fine.
Here, wait, now I
See,
have to
look,
take
I'm
off-
not nearly
I have
as...
to take off mine here.
You're a good-looking man. Look at this.
Yeah, right.
We're unrestrained by
Oh
the
my God.
bounds.
Now you can see my farmer's tan. Like, see how red my skin is here, and then how pasty white I am where the
I
neck
have
is.
kind of a farmer's tan here.
See,
look.
this is
Audio
what I-
listeners, you're missing out right now.
This is what and you can see my hair. Like, you guys have hair too. You can't see it, but you can literally see all the hair, even on this crappy camera. It's so annoying.
I don't have
Let's-
much hair. I guess.
I'm envious that you can grow hair because I am so limited in what I can grow.
Anyways, there you go. I took off my shirt. I caved into the peer pressure.
Good for you, Bo.
And now, no
Proud
one's,
of
people are not going to want me on their shows ever again.
No, they'll want you more. You'll be in demand.
If anything,
They're
they
like,
have a new profile pic for
Bo. Like, we want Tom, but maybe Bo's good too. Well, which one takes off their shirt? Well, Bo's quick to take off his shirt. That's the man we want.
Well,
for
you
this.
required a little bit of
He,
prodding.
he required some lubrication.
Ew.
All
All right, on that note.
Well, GBB listeners, if you're an audio listener and you've never tried the video version of the show, which is available on YouTube, now is as good a week as any to try it. I recommend.
I like the idea that us taking off our clothes, our numbers, if they could go down, would go down.
If it was possible to sink any lower.
This is a sweep stunt.
Oh my God!
Relax.
All right,
It's
VOD,
sweeps week.
I have a place to end it there. I'm sure. VOD listeners, thank you for tuning in. For the few of you who go on Facebook and say we love that you have video, we do this for you. So Thank you, and also you're welcome. And see you on the next time.